I'll chant the Sanskrit. Narada Uchu Sainika Bhaya Namno Ye Adhisman Dishtakarina Prajvara Kalakanyabhyam Vicherur Avinim Imam. Synonyms. Narada Uchu, the great sage Narada continued to speak. Sainika, the soldiers. Bhayana, of Bhaya, fear. Ye, all of them. Who? Parisman, O king. Prachinabarisat. Dishtakarina, or with Kanyabhyam, and with Kalakanya. Vicheru, traveled. Avinim, on earth. Imam, this. Okay, so translation. Great sage Narada continued, my dear king Prachinabarisat, afterward the king of the Yavanas, whose name is fear itself, as well as Prajvara, Kalakanya, and his soldiers began to travel all over the world. Purport. Hare Krishna, welcome. The period of life just prior to death is certainly very dangerous because usually at this point people are attacked by the weakness of old age. The diseases that attack the body are compared here to soldiers. For they are guided by the king of the Yavanas, who act as their commander-in-chief. The word Dishtakarina indicates that he is their commander. When a man is young, he does not care for old age, but enjoys sex on the basis of his satisfaction, not knowing that at the end of life, his sexual indulgence will bring on various. With so much disturbance, so much disturb the body that one will pray for death. The more one enjoys sex during youth, the more he suffers in old age. Prabhupada just said, when a man is young, he does not care for old age. We have a young man over there. But enjoys sex to the best of his satisfaction, not knowing that at the end of his life, his sexual indulgence will bring various diseases, which so much disturb the body that one will apparently too much, then that's what you're gonna be praying for, because you're gonna be suffering disease. Okay, so the next verse. Because there's a king and there's a sage. Anyone know Narada Muni? Little one? You know Narada Muni? Yeah. He's like a spiritual astronaut. And so Narada Muni, he visits this king and he's instructed how if you try to tell someone some advice, they don't listen. Say an indirect, you say, like I'm sure we all have that experience, right? You want to tell somebody something, but you know if you tell them, they'll be, so you try to tell them in an indirect way. Oh, I heard on the news that this and this and this happens. And or just me. Yeah. So that's what's happening here. Is Narada Muni, he's trying to tell this king something, but he knows this king has a very, very big fault. So he tells him this whole story. He tells him a whole story in order to instruct him. And now in the part of the story, he's telling him, now he's telling him about death, like what's going to happen at death, and when you're old, and then when you die, what's going to happen. And actually, this is the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. There's duty of every human being. We have any human beings here? Few, right? Okay. So what is the duty of every human being, and what is the duty of one who's about to die? Anyone here is going to die? Yeah. Yep, we all are. And we might think, oh, death is so far away, right? But death can have a moment, right? Death can happen at any moment. So therefore, this book is very important for us, Srimad Bhagavatam, and yeah, this is and especially this section now we're hearing about what just some important things for our next life, yeah. Like we might go now, if we do well in school now, we might go to good college, like this. And if we do get the next verse, translation. Once the dangerous soldiers attacked the city of Puranjana with great force. Although the city was full of paraphernalia for sense gratification, it was being protected by the old serpent. So Puranjana is the king, but the sage is making it sound like the king is the city. So in other words, he's saying, you, Puranjana, are being attacked by many dangerous soldiers, even though in the city there was so much paraphernalia for sense gratification, it was being protected by the old serpent. So what do you guys think? If there's a city, okay, say the Russians were to invade Gitanagari here, and we were protected by an old serpent. What does that mean? We're protected by an old serpent. Any thoughts? I don't know actually. Okay, so that's why there's nice explanations. We're going to find out. Okay. As one's body engages in sense gratification, it becomes weaker and weaker. Finally, the vital force becomes that it is herein compared to a weak serpent. So the body becomes so weak that it's compared to being protected by an old. When the vital force within the body, okay. A serpent. So now it's saying when one gets old, then that serpent becomes very old. Has anyone ever seen a snake? I don't know. You probably not, but we probably just don't know. In this story, the serpent of life, our life force, is becoming weak. So let's see what's going to be explained next. When the vital force within the body becomes weak, the body itself also becomes weak. At such a time, the death symptoms, that is, the dangerous soldiers of death's superintendent, begin to attack very severely. Before coming to such a stage, one should leave home and take sannyas to preach the God for the duration of life. However, if one sits at home and is served by his beloved wife and children, he certainly becomes weaker and weaker due to sense gratification. When death finally comes, one leaves the body devoid of spiritual assets. At the present time, even the oldest man in the family does not leave home, being attracted by wife, children, money, opulence, dwelling, etc. Thus, one worries about how his wife will be protected and how she will manage the great family responsibilities. In this way, a man his wife before death, according to Srimad Bhagavad Gita 8.6, Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam tajante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kunteya sada tad bhav bhavita. Whatever, this is the translation. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits. At the end of life, you are still with me? Okay. At the end of life, a person thinks of what he has done throughout his whole life. So, at the end of life, a person thinks of what he's done throughout his whole life. So it's like, anyone ever see in the movies when someone's about to die, and then there's like a big flashback through their whole life. They kind of like, you've seen that before? They like they're about to die from young to old. So yeah. So that's kind of what happens at the end of life, as explained here. Thus, he gets another body, dehantara, according to his thoughts and desires at the end of life. One overly addicted to life and home naturally thinks of his beloved wife at the end of life. Consequently, in the next life, he gets the body of a woman, and he also acquires the results of his pious or impious activities. In this chapter, the acceptance of a woman's body by King Pranchana will be thoroughly explained. Very interesting. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Pakadamayam Tatati Swapadantikam Pandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagachatan Sagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sarvetam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chet Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Tanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. Okay, thank you. Yeah. So very, in this section, a very crucial topic because it's relating to what will happen in our next life. So yeah, in the Vedas, there's two things. Two things are described: Shreyas and Preyas. Anyone knows what Shreyas and Preyas are? I know sometimes people have the name Shreyas. So Shreyas and Preyas refer to happen in the future. So Preyas means what will happen immediately, and Shreyas means what will happen in the long term. So Shreyas is like, okay, breakfast will come at 9 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock. Very nice. I'm looking forward to whatever it is that they'll make. And then Preyas means like what will happen in our next life. And as we know, it's good to be prepared for. We don't want to miss breakfast, and we also don't want to miss out on forgetting a better birth in our next life. So there's one verse from the Bhagavatam, Canto 7. I don't know, maybe you read this verse since you're on Canto 7 now. Yadrikshay lokam imam prapita karma bir brahman swarga pavargayo dvaram tririshcham puna asyacha. So this verse reads, in the course of the evolutionary process, which is caused by fruitive activities due to undesirable sense gratification, I have received this human form of life to the lowest or to rebirth among human species, among human beings. So in other words, this human form of life is like it's like the springboard. So because in this human form of life, then according to our actions now, we'll get a certain life in our next life. This is like if you're in college and you have the examination period, this is like the examination period. So this is it's like very, very important. Because when you're an animal, generally you're just going up animal species. You take birth as whatever, a caterpillar, then your next life, you're like a wasp, and then we move up and up and up. And then after going through all these different species, 8,400,000, then you get this human form of life, which is very, very, very important. So it's described like it's like this a spring, like a diving springboard. You guys know diving springboard? Like coming out of it, and you walk and you jump, you bounce and then you jump. I remember when I wanted to do a backflip off the diving board, and I was there, and you guys know backflip, like, yeah, you flip your body around. So I wanted to do a backflip into the pool. So I was nervous and I was on the edge, and do it, come on, you can do it. So then I was nervous and I was bouncing a little, and I thought, okay, I'll do it. And then when I jumped back, then I didn't jump back far enough, so my head hit the bottom of the diving board, and then I got knocked out unconscious, and I fell into the water, and then the lifeguard had come. There was blood in the pool because the back of my head was cut. So anyways, in this human form of life, we don't want to be like me, you know. We don't want to just mess up and then fall into the pool, bleed everywhere, become very. We want to use the human form to do well, to get a better next life. And yeah, this idea how, because we might think, okay, how is it that, how it seems a little inconceivable to think about how in my next life, I'll take a birth according to my consciousness in this life. We might think, okay, the Vedas, but I don't know. It's just because it seems a little bit, it's a little hard to believe in a sense that whatever we're thinking in this life, then that will give us our next life. But I mean, does that sound a little wild? How? Okay, like for the body, we know when the body dies, when I die, in my body, it will be, if I'm buried in the ground, my body will, be eaten by worms or whatever. Or I don't know if anyone maybe saw a deer when they were coming here. You saw a dead deer on the side of the road, yeah, and you saw how the worms were eating the deer. So, or if my body is burnt to ashes, if I get cremated, okay, that's the result of my body. So it's easy to know that what's the results of our body when we die, but it's a little more unequal to think about what's going to happen. What about my consciousness? Where is that going to go? But it is going to go somewhere, as there's that law of thermodynamics, right? Any physicists in the house? Any physicist? PhD? Postdoc? No? Okay. But according to the law of thermodynamics, energy is never, so we know the body, okay, it's going into the ground. If it's burned, then it's going into the air. But where's our consciousness going, right? When we die, where is that energy going? And that's the whole idea, is it's going somewhere. So as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Saridam Yadavapnoti Yakchaput Kamisamyati Vayurgandam Ivasya. That just as the wind carries different aroma, like now I'm having allergies because there's lots of pollen in the air, and the pollen is carried by the aroma. You have allergies also? Smiling, yeah? It's terrible, huh? But now I'm taking some nose and it's helping. Huh? Having it here? Back home you have it. Yeah, because there's lots of pollen, because in springtime, oh yeah. For me, I get it now for some reason. I don't know. Maybe a certain plant. I think there's certain plants that come up at this time, and that's what I'm allergic to. But anyways, now I'm taking some spraying my nose and no more allergies. But the pollen, it's carried by the wind, right? So that verse is saying, similarly, our consciousness will carry us into another body at the time of death. Yeah, just as the wind carries aromas, so similarly, our consciousness will carry us to a different body at the time of death. Yeah, and so this might seem a little wild, but I'll tell you, it's not as wild as you may think, because that, take for example a TV, right? So a TV, it gets it gets the waves, right? Like the TV waves, and then it goes into the machine. And of course, no one really uses TVs nowadays, but yeah, when we used to, the waves they travel, and then somehow they catch the satellite, and then an image comes up, right? So in other words, based on something that you can't even see, because we can't see those TV waves, right? But based on those waves, then something that we can see is able to appear. So they have, you guys people still watch TV nowadays? Mostly on a computer, everything's, YouTube and Netflix. Yeah. So that's an example how something subtle, something you can't even see, turns into something that you can see. And similarly, so they did this study. They wanted to see if people's thoughts would influence the plane. If you're on a plane, Boeing 747, there's so many passengers, right? So you want to make sure that, do people's thoughts influence the control panels of the plane, right? And pretty interesting thought, right? And what some studies, and they found, what do you think they found? They found that, yeah, based on people's thoughts, it could influence matter. Does that make sense? Based on is that far out or what? When they were very mean to the cup of water. I know this is, I think maybe, and I don't think that was very nice to be so cruel to this cup. But maybe next time they do the experiment, we can protest outside the labs. But based on how they were thinking towards the cup of water, the molecules were pretty, some looked very like jagged and ugly. So this shows whatever your consciousness is, so again, I'm trying to just bring this concept down to reality a little bit, and this concept being that how and yeah, so I'm trying to give examples of how our subtle thoughts our subtle thoughts can actually turn into something that's like, more perceivable. Another example, if we just think about, like, when you guys plan to come to Gita Nagari, are you guys all together, by the way? One big group or a few groups? Okay. One. Nice. So when you plan to come to Gita Nagari, how did it all start? Whose idea was it? Whose bad idea was it? The little one. It was her idea. Oh, mom's idea. Okay, mom's idea. No, that was a very good idea. Thank you for coming. Hope it's been a good stay. But it all started with a thought, right? You thought of something. Oh, maybe. Why did you think to come here anyways? Oh, you were like her. Oh, nice. Great. Oh, did you get to pet the cow? Did you get to pet a cow? It was nice. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. So, what was I? Oh, yeah. So it all started from this thought. Let's go to Gitanagari, right? And now you're here. Now you're in this class. So again, just based on a thought, it all starts with a thought. Then something happens. Okay. Yeah. So that's so I wanted to kind of talk about that, and therefore in forming our next life, then we should be very careful what we think of. Yeah. So that's our whole process is transforming our consciousness, Krishna consciousness, transforming our consciousness into the conception that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and I'm supposed to serve him. So yeah, we should be very careful in this life to kind of like make sure our consciousness is very well protected. Because like Srila Prabhupada gives the example, if you have some paint, so like anyone paint their house recently? We painted these walls recently. Yeah. And say you have, it looks nice, right? Yeah, good. And so say you have pure white paint. That's what we want. We want pure Krishna consciousness, right? We want pure, Krishna consciousness. That's like white paint. But what happens, and then someone comes, like your daughter comes, and she decides to like put a little black paint into there. It wouldn't look so nice, right? Start looking gray or, yeah. So similarly, with our consciousness, we don't want to mix other colors into it. We want the pure paint or whatever, the pure color. We don't want to mix bad colors into the paint, or else they won't look very nice. You like painting? Yeah. That's how we have to treat our consciousness. You know, we want the pure white paint, so we have to not put in undesirable colors in it. And what are those undesirable colors? Ultimately, it's association with material nature. So yeah, I drove yesterday to CNJ. I used to drive to Tawako, but now we just go to CNJ. You guys have been there, CNJ temple? Yeah, very nice, very nice. So I drove there, and on my way back, so many billboards, right? Do this, do that. So, Hare Krishna, welcome. Thank you for coming. The Frisbee team. So, yeah, so what happens if you start reading all these billboards? Then you might start wanting to do some of these things, right? Like you might start wanting to. I don't know. I try not to pay attention to the billboards anymore, so I don't know what they were, but yeah, because that's the idea. They're trying to show you things, so then if you see something enough times, then you might decide, okay, fine, let me go to 7-Eleven and get a cold drink. So we have to, so that's the thing. We have to protect our consciousness so that we don't expose it to these bad things. And And it said, Rupa Goswami says in the Nectar Devotion, he says there are things that will spoil your devotion. So we don't want our devotion to be spoiled, right? No. Well, that'd be like what is it? One makes milk sweets here. Rasgulla, Sandesh. Oh, you make sometimes. Nice. So sometimes when I'm making kheer, I make kheer and burfi, and sometimes when I'm making the burfi, it curdles. It turns into paneer, and I don't know if anyone's tried paneer burfi, but it's not very good. It's not very good. So that's the thing. I spend so much time. Okay, 2 hours stirring the milk, and then at the end it becomes spoiled, and I'm not able to use it. So similarly, there are 6 things that will spoil our devotional life, and they are atyahara. Yeah. So over endeavoring for material things. So in other words, if something is going to get in the way of your sadhana in your Krishna consciousness, then better to give it up. Who won the World Series? Who won cricket? What do they call it? Cricket World Series? Cricket Championship? Whatever they call it. Yeah, if we talk too much about that, then that's not good also. Associating with non-devotees. Okay, we might have to work, that's okay, but we shouldn't reveal our heart with the non-devotees, because when we open up our heart, then we also, our heart takes in our heart, yeah. So we shouldn't, so we don't want to take in their ideas. Yeah, and being very greedy. We also don't want to be greedy for mundane things. Oh, let me have more and more, let me there's giving out samosas, so grab samosas for the whole month. We don't want to be greedy like this. And yeah. So these are things that will spoil our devotional service, that will make white paint into colored paint, which is not good. We don't want colored paint. Okay. So today is also Hera Panchami. And you guys know, are you guys coming for Rath Yatra? Rath Yatra is coming up, end of the month. If you guys can make it, please come. Have you been to any Rath Yatras this year? New York? New York, you went to New York. Wow, all of you? You guys went to New York Rath Yatra? No. Okay. Jagannath Rath Yatra. You're going to go to Jagannath Puri Rath Yatra? Boston and Connecticut. And Connecticut. Okay, nice. Okay, so today is Hera Panchami, actually. And Hera Panchami happens on the 5th day after Lord Jagannath goes to the Gundicha. Because as we know, Lord Jagannath, he gets sick. In Jagannath Puri, and his sister and his brother, and when they go there, they don't take Lakshmi, because there's also the Jagannath temple, there's also a deity of Lakshmi. So they don't take her, and of course, if anyone's ever left if anyone's ever, like, I don't know, maybe you guys left someone at home, like, no, you're not coming with us, you're too rambunctious. Like, say you guys were all coming to Gitanagari and you were to leave your brother back home. So then your brother might be thinking, why'd they leave me? So this is how, so Lakshmi was thinking in the same way. Why did they leave me? You know, why they left me, they went to the Gundicha Mandir, and Lakshmi, she's the consort of Jagannath, so she's like, come on, you know. So on the 5th day, which is today, she goes to the Gundicha Mandir and with an army of angry maidservants. But the guards stop her and put up a fight with her army. Lord Jagannath's army loses and are bound in ropes and thrown at the feet of Lakshmi Devi. Lakshmi Devi releases them and breaks the wheel of Jagannath and warns the Lord to return to her soon. She's like, he creates a big fuss. And then as a sign of anger, then she breaks a piece of Lord Jagannath's cart. So yeah, we can see this in ourselves also, right? Sometimes we become very angry at someone, so we might try to do something mean, like, yeah, I don't know. You're all nice people. I'm sure you don't ever want to do things like that. But yeah, so she broke a little piece of Lord Jagannath's cart, and then when Lord Jagannath returns, then he gives her some rasgullas to ask for her forgiveness. Nothing says, please forgive me, like a nice rasgulla. So that's the Hera Panchami event that happens today. And at this end, there's end here. Is it at the end here? Okay, this is a different one. Okay, never mind. No funny things. All right, so thank you all for coming. Thank you for lending an ear. And if anyone online or here in person has anything they would like to say, hopefully related to the class, then they can do so now. If you guys have any, or if you, any questions online, or you guys want to share one thing that you're going to take away from today's class. Anyone has one reflection from the class today? Little one? Huh? Uh-huh. Very nice. Thank you. I'm glad that message was portrayed nicely. Thank you. And that's why Prabhupada said we should listen to Srimad Bhagavatam every day. And there's this verse, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, that we should constantly be hearing Bhagavatam. So sometimes they have these things, Bhagavat Saptaha, you go for 7 days and you listen to Bhagavatam. Okay, that's nice, but according to the Bhagavatam, we should listen to it every day Bhagavatam. Yeah. Because it takes you can just imagine we're exposed to so many material things, so we have to expose our things to lots of spiritual content to kind of like counteract these things. Anyone else has one thing they're going to take away from the class today? One thought? Whoa. Oh my God. Give a round of applause for that. Oh, that was amazing. Wow. Was this a devotee camp? Wow. Very nice. That's amazing. I wish I went to that camp when I was a kid. Yeah. So the holy name was the water. They cleared it out. Very nice. So she was explaining how she went to a camp and they put colors in a bowl, and then they had to clear out the colors by the water, and the colors represent the three modes of nature, and the water represents the holy name that washed out the colors. Wow. You should have given class today. Okay. Okay, thank you, everybody. Hare Krishna. So now we'll have the greeting of the deities. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, ki Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo.